Hey, it's Pastor Dan from Dexter Gospel Church with a Proverbs Practical. I appreciate you watching. Today's verse gives us a good reason to avoid the behaviors of the previous verse. So we're into one of those couplets here in Proverbs where we get a verse that gives us something to do or to avoid, and then the next verse gives us the reason why we should do it or avoid it. We're in verse 21 of Proverbs 23. Proverbs 23:21 says, "For the drunkard and the glutton shall come to poverty, and drowsiness shall clothe a man with rags." In the previous verse, we were warned not to participate in two behaviors, drunkenness and gluttony. Both of those feature a loss of control, often an addiction that places us in some measure under the control of something else. The ultimate end of the lack of self-discipline or self-control tends to be lack, not having what we need or want. The drunkard not only can't make a good living, he can't keep the money he has. His intoxication affects his decisions and thus his spending, even beyond what he spends on the alcohol itself. And of course, it's hard to have a good job or do a good job if a person's drunk. Gluttony back in their day would be much the same. Food that could be indulged in destructively was expensive. They didn't have high fructose corn syrup or all the cheap processed food that we have today. Getting a lot of sugar or salt was difficult, so you'd be breaking your bank account to afford to eat that all the time. But if you're addicted, it's awfully hard to say no, no matter what the cost is. And of course, that lack of self-discipline or self-control is going to affect your social standing, your ability to hold and do a job, and so on. And then there were the health problems. Obesity costs Americans, if I recall correctly, over $146 billion a year in medical expenses. So drunkenness and gluttony, he warns, both lead to poverty. Now the counsel is written to the son of a king, the son of King Solomon himself, the richest guy alive. So that means the son is starting off with a lot of money. But even all of that could be squandered and lost if he didn't have self-discipline, if he wouldn't govern what and how much he drank and ate. And then it brings in the idea of drowsiness. This is a new addition, wasn't in the previous verse. This is the only time that this word shows up in the Bible. And it seems to carry the idea not just of being sleepy, but of being lazy. It's laying around beyond the sleep that you actually need to function. It's therefore the sleep equivalence of drunkenness or gluttony. It certainly can take as much self-discipline to get out of bed as it does to stop eating or drinking. Knowing how much sleep we need, giving ourselves that much, but not indulging in more, is often as difficult and important as managing our food intake. We tend to different extremes with this. There are some people who are workaholics and just never get enough sleep, or they aren't disciplined enough to go to bed when they need to do that. There are others who aren't disciplined enough to get up when they need to do that. So he warns sleeping beyond what we need is ultimately just as destructive to us as eating beyond what we need or drinking beyond what we need. And again, the son of a king might be tempted to lay around longer than he needed to. He doesn't have to work hard since he's already rich and entitled, quite literally. He has a title, which means that he's guaranteed certain privileges. And he can just have other people do the things he wants, he probably thinks. But laziness is destructive for anyone, no matter where they start in life. It might be fatal to the commoner, but it could bring even a king or the son of a king low. All of these have in common self-awareness and self-control. The person addressed is supposed to know how much they should rightly drink, how much they really needed to eat, how much sleep they actually needed to function best. Then they needed the ability to stop, to get up, to get moving. Going beyond what would benefit them was going to harm them, ultimately hurting them financially and bringing them to poverty. I hope this video is a help to you. If so, hit the like button. If you haven't already, subscribe to our channel for more content like it. We'd love to see you in the comments, and we'd love to see you in person here at Dexter Gospel Church. Until next time, I hope you stay well and set the limits that you should.